What's up, guys? How's it going, everybody? My name is Blitzwinger, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new Lego Star Wars 3 The Clone Wars video. And today we are taking a look at the wonderful vehicles within this game. And there's a lot, and I mean a lot to look through. There are vehicles that are exclusive to the Separatist. There are vehicles that are exclusive to the Republic. There are spaceships. There are ground vehicles. I mean, there is a ton to really go through. Now, of course, as we work our way through all the vehicles here today, I want to also go on ahead and ask you guys for a little bit of support. So what I need you guys to do is go on ahead and hit the thumbs up button on the video. And in addition to that, I know you guys will come through with some support in the comments section. Let me know what is your favorite vehicle down in the comments section below. Now, with all that in mind, let's get rocking and let's get it rolling. We're going to start with the grounded vehicles, or the vehicles that are basically spawnable to drive around and about the actual areas or the spaceships themselves around the main two spaceships. So here we have the ice cream van, and I will actually spawn in every single one of the vehicles so you can actually see them and what they look like, because that's one of the things that I think people also like, is to actually see what the vehicles do or how they function, things like that. So this one has the actual like ice cream music, I guess, as well, which is something that I had no idea about until this very moment. Whoops, sorry, that's the wrong spawner. We're headed over to the spaceship side of things already. Hold up, I got a little bit ahead of myself. So we're gonna waddle all the way back here and then spawn in the motorbike, which first has to take away the other vehicle, then spawn in the new one, because you're supposed to have one vehicle at a time available to you. Now, of course, the one kind of downside of most of the vehicles that you get to play in this game is that there's very limited areas to use them. So unlike in, let's say, Lego Marvel Superheroes, where you have pretty much a Lego-fied Manhattan to drive through and traverse using really cool vehicles, here you don't really have that benefit. So that is obviously a very, very fair criticism. Next up, we have the Walker suit, which is an homage to the Aliens franchise, the Power Walker mech suit from that particular franchise. It looks a lot like it, and within the game itself, it actually functions or appears in a scene that very, very much is reminiscent of the Aliens films. I really, really think this is one of the cooler vehicles in the game, and I think it just looks super duper cool. I love how they even have the little lights on the sides. It looks super cool. Definitely my favorite one of this set of vehicles. It's not the coolest one overall, because there's some really cool spaceships that we'll look at, and some other like offensive vehicles, like the ones who actually, like, I guess, have weapons attached to them. But this is definitely the coolest of this particular set of vehicles. So next up, we have the Gonk droid, which I think is the lamest of the bunch. It's literally that. Like, you basically feel like you're walking on a Metal Gear Solid box. Next up after that, we have the tractor mower, which, if you're like thinking to yourself, you know what I'd really love to have in a video game? The ability to mow some lawns. Well, guess what? Wait no longer. You can now go on ahead and do that in Lego Star Wars The Clone Wars. So yeah, again, kind of it's okay. Like, I guess it's just supposed to be kind of a goofy vehicle. It's just one that I'm not a big fan of. Now, this right here is actually a really cool car. This is the orange car. It looks cool. Again, just looks like a really sick looking sports car. It drives really, really well. Like, it goes super duper quick, so you're able to traverse the areas quite quickly. And again, as far as aesthetics are concerned, it's a really cool looking car. Speaking of cool looking cars, this next car is the one that I fondly titled the Tony Stark car, because it legit looks like one of the cars that comes in an actual Lego set for Tony Stark, and it looks a lot like the car that he has in his like Hall of Armor. So I think that's a pretty sweet looking car. And I'm not talking about the hot rod, by the way, because I know somebody's going to point that out. Bro, what do you mean? The hot rod? No, I mean a different car, but it does look like something that Tony Stark would drive. Next up after that, we have the Gloop Gatherer, which Actually, I'm trying to remember. Did this vehicle appear in Lego Batman? I think it might have. I don't exactly recall that, but I think it might have been in Lego Batman. It's a pretty cool vehicle. It's pretty much kind of a vacuum cleaner car. And you do actually utilize it in the game at one point in time, like in the actual story of the game, where you're supposed to collect like this toxin goo. Next up, speaking of characters that you do also utilize in the game to actually gather a mini kit, this is the crab droid, which, by the way, I had no idea that this thing is actually a droid. I thought it was just a legitimate like regular crab, but it's actually a droid, and it does have like a claw attack, so you can actually use it offensively as well. So that's kind of neat, makes it stand out compared to some of the other vehicles we have. Speaking of standing out, this next vehicle stands way out because, well, it's an elephant. So it's very, very odd for sure. Just because, I don't know, maybe this will be a fun trivia question for those of you that are more knowledgeable in Star Wars than I am. But I honestly can't recall any other animal from our world that appears in Star Wars. So it is just kind of odd to see something that we recognize. Like, there's obviously animals that look like other animals in the real world, but it's just so weird to actually see an elephant. So I don't know if that's ever happened before in Star Wars. Let me know in the comments section below. With that in mind, we then move right along to the next vehicle, which will be the service car. So this is usually the little car that you see appear in the, I guess, flight or docking areas within different Star Wars movies, where they will always usually be bringing in different parts and pieces as they approach different ships that are either preparing to take off or maybe just came back in and now need to be serviced. So it's a cool little vehicle to appear. And then last but certainly not least, we have the vehicle from Fortnite, right? That's the only place that it's ever appeared in. It's the UFO, which actually moves very quickly. So much so, as you can see, that it actually sends you off the map. But this thing moves quicker than I feel like than even the sports cars. It's a really, really fast vehicle. So as far as just mobility wise, it's definitely a nice way to get around. So with that in mind, now let's go on ahead and jump into the weaponized vehicle. And so let's kick things off on the villain side of things. Here we have the super tank. Now the cool thing is that we can actually spawn two of these at a time. So we can have the AT-AT on this side, the super tank on this side, and maybe if you're playing co-op, I guess you could battle it out against your friends to go on ahead and use the different weapons that these vehicles have. Because that's one of the cool things about these ones, that obviously they are weaponized, so they have different firing modes. You have like laser blasters, you have like our energy or maybe like a rocket blast available as well. And then the AT-AT tank, which you will run into a lot during the Separatist assault and the Republic assault missions. It's a really common vehicle. So again, if you want to go on ahead and pilot that, that is available to you as well. Next up from there, we're going to jump into the Dwarf Spider Droid, so a much smaller vehicle. We kicked off things here with the largest vehicles. Now we're going to see two much smaller vehicles. The Spider Droid is the smallest, I think, of the weaponized vehicles in the game. It moves incredibly quick. I really like the animation on it. I think it actually looks pretty goofy. And it has this pretty good laser blast that you can go on ahead and either fire pretty quickly by just tapping the button, or if you hold down, it has a slower rate of fire, but it's still pretty useful. And again, it's a nice quick way to get around. Then over on this side, we have the tank, or the hailfire or whatever it's called tank. It has rockets. It moves still very quickly, a lot faster than the larger bulkier vehicles that we saw at the start there. But it has also the additional firepower of rockets instead of just a laser blast. So it can definitely do quite a bit of damage at a pretty rapid pace. Now, from there, let's jump into our next set of two vehicles. This is the OG9 homing spider droid, which basically takes that tiny small spider droid and levels it up. Like, think in Pokemon when you have an evolution. Well, that's basically what you get with this OG9 right here. So here it is. It's a ridiculously crazy looking vehicle. It looks very odd in terms of its mobility. It moves quite slowly. It has a laser blast, or I guess a laser ray, not single shot. It does have a single shot fire if you're tapping the B button, but if you hold down the traditional attack button, then you will see, which in my case, since I'm playing with an Xbox controller, it's the X button, you actually are able to melt down gold Lego objects, which is obviously super duper handy. Then we have one of two speeders here. So this is the standing speeder here, which has a pretty good rate of fire. Now, keep in mind, of course, you can actually adjust the way that the speeder vehicles fire by activating the red power brick for super speeders. So if I do that, you'll notice, interesting. Over here, it did not actually change. But I know for a fact that within the Galactic Assault missions, what it will do is it actually turns the blasters fire from red to green, and then you're able to go on ahead and damage any type of block, whether it is a gold block, a regular Lego block, or a silver Lego block. So you basically have a lot more of a versatile vehicle at your hand. So this is the STAP, aka STAP. Next up, we have the Pirate Speeder Tank. And the final vehicle we're going to look at is the Starhawk Speeder Bike, which is basically the Separatist version of the speeder bike. So here's the tank. My one big, I guess, annoyance with this vehicle, because I don't even know if that's really a complaint, because I kind of understand why it's the case, is the fact that it takes a really long time to turn. So like if you need to make a sudden turn, this tank just takes quite a while to make a turn. It has a laser blast, as you can see, available to it, so that's kind of nice. It actually looks really, really cool. I like the design of the vehicle itself. It looks quite awesome in terms of the way that they actually made it out of Lego, but it just moves so slowly, and it's so cumbersome to actually be agile that is a bit of a downer. So that's why my favorite vehicle to utilize on this side of the Separatists is actually this right here, the speeder, because it moves very quickly. It's very, very agile. And of course, the one flaw that you would have using this thing is that it's kind of weak. Well, fortunately enough, there's a red power brick that is available to you to go on ahead and power it up, making it by far the best vehicle in the game. Now, with that in mind, let's take a look at what the Republic has on their roster of vehicles. Okay, so here we are in the Republic's hangar bay, I guess. Let's take a look at the vehicles that we have available here. So we're going to kick things off with the ATRT, which is sort of a walker, I guess, style vehicle. Speaking of walkers, here's the ATAP, which is a straight up walker vehicle for sure. Hold up, it seems like we're gonna have lots of fights here happening. So here's our first smaller kind of miniaturized walker. Again, the nice thing about these ones, I understand that it's a lot weaker. It doesn't produce nearly as much damage and such, but it's so much faster. So there is something to be said for the idea that maybe if you're doing like a speed run, or maybe you're trying to go on ahead and get around quicker throughout the levels and such, like on the Republic Assault or the I guess it would be not the Republic Assault, it would be the Separatist Assault missions. You're able to just traverse the environment a lot quicker and more efficiently, so that's definitely nice. Now, on the other hand, if you're more about power, firepower, this is the one that you would go with. You're going to be moving a lot slower, but you have a ton of firepower. You have two blasters that fire at the same exact pace as the smaller walker, but then you have the cannon fire of the absolutely ridiculous main cannon that can go on ahead and obliterate the vast majority of your targets with ease. The only downside of this one is, of course, the fact that it moves slowly and that you can't destroy gold Lego objects. Now, with that in mind, let's move on to the next vehicle, which is going to be the ATTE, which is the biggest vehicle that the Republic has, and the RX-200 tank. So here's the ATTE, which is just absolutely ginormous. You can tell that it's a giant vehicle because literally when you hop into this vehicle, the camera zooms out because it just cannot fit the entire vehicle in frame. It has these smaller cannons that it can fire at a pretty rapid pace, and oddly enough, it actually does not move all that slowly. The only annoying thing about this vehicle is that it's very difficult to make turns, and that's why they kind of made it, I guess, duo-directional or bi-directional. I don't even know what the right word is, but you can move both, like from this perspective it moves forwards, or it starts walking in this perspective and it moves forward. So it's really interesting that it has that going for it, and it has cannons on both sides. So either side you can be firing from, which is kind of interesting and unique for sure. And then of course you still do have your main cannon that you can go on ahead and fire as well. A really cool looking vehicle, definitely one of the best vehicles in the game. This right here, the RX-200, proved to me to be honestly the best vehicle on the Republic side of things. It's super good because it's able to go on ahead and melt gold Lego objects. Its weakness is that it can't deal with silver Lego objects, but it's able to move so quick, which is awesome. Very, very handy, especially until you don't unlock the super speeders red brick, which is quite expensive, and it might take you a little bit of time to save up for it. I honestly think this is the best core vehicle that doesn't have any like cheat codes available for it in the form of red power bricks. I think this is just the most useful way to complete those Republic and Galactic Assault missions. Why do I continue saying Galactic Assault? I think it's because of Battlefront. What I meant to say is the Republic Assault and the Separatist Assault missions. Next up from there, we're going to take a look at the Pirate Speeder Tank. And we will, or I guess we can, spawn in the Starhawk speeder bike again, although we've been there and done that. So instead we're going to spawn in the Bark speeder. So this right here is the exact same pirate tank, and the reason why it's available on either side is because of course it's a pirate vehicle, which I guess technically means that it doesn't belong neither to the Republic nor the Separatists, so it is able to be accessible just like the Starhawk speeder to either side, and either side can go on ahead and use them. This right here though is exclusive to the Republic, and that is the classic or somewhat classic looking speeder bike. It moves super duper fast, and just like I mentioned for the speeder bikes before on the side of the Separatists, again it can go on ahead and benefit from the red power brick of super speeders, making it by far the absolute best utility vehicle in the game. Now, I know that at this point you're probably thinking, well, Blitz, that must be it. We've taken a look at so many vehicles, that has to be all that there is to it. Well, I gotta go on ahead and hit you with a nope. Because no, there's still spaceships that we need to take a look at as well. So let's head to the main launch area and take a look at every single spaceship that is in the game as well. And this time we're gonna kick things off on the Republic side of things. So let's get to spawning, because as you could see, there are a lot of vehicles to go through, 16 unique spaceships to look through. So let's get rocking and rolling without further ado. Here we go. We kick things off with Anakin's Jedi Starfighter. And once again, the cool thing here is that you can also, just like with the main vehicles that we were just spawning now, spawn 2 of them at a time. So here you have Obi-Wan's Starfighter, looking pretty cool. Over on this end, we had Anakin's Starfighter, but it seems to have just decided to just peace out on us. There it is. So obviously they have their unique asteroid mechs available. Really cool recolor, the gold, or I guess yellow and gray versus the red on Obi-Wan's ship. I personally prefer Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter just because I prefer the color red, but let me know what you guys think. Here we have Plo Koon's Jedi Starfighter that we will spawn in next. Or I guess we won't, because the game decided to be like, nope. Again, very similar design, not completely identical, but obviously a huge difference in terms of the color schemes for each one of the Jedi Starfighters, which I think is super cool. Speaking of which, here's Kit Fisto's Starfighter, which will be green, and to me, always reminds me of Boba Fett's ship in terms of the colors. I think it's just very reminiscent of the Slave One ship, but let me know what you guys think of that particular design there. Then we move on to the second row of vehicles, which takes us to the Y-Wing Starfighter. And it's just so impressive to see how many different ships and designs there are in Star Wars that are all so unique and so different to one another. So here's the Y-Wing, looking very cool and very, very classic, of course. From there, we proceed to the ARC 170 Starfighter. Now, you'll notice sometimes there will be brackets around the vehicles that we're spawning right now that will say something like rapid fire or missiles or torpedoes. That basically means that those vehicles have additional abilities useful in the game, like torpedoes or missiles, or the rapid fire ability that this vehicle right here has allows you to go on ahead and melt gold Lego objects in the space missions that you have to complete throughout the game. It's a really, really cool looking vehicle, and I don't know why when I look at this vehicle right here, the ARC 170 in the preview window, I never expected to be quite as ginormous as it is when it actually is spawned in the hangar bay. And you'll see what I mean when we spawn in the Republic gunship, because look, the Republic gunship looks smaller compared to that ARC 170. This thing looks, again, maybe it has a little bit more width, but as far as just length, it looks a little bit shorter, whereas I think the Republic gunship should be a ginormous vehicle. I just, again, not super familiar with all the vehicles in the Star Wars universe, but the ARC 170 is just like, it blows my mind just how ginormous that vehicle is. But there's the Republic gunship. I'm sure that this is a huge fan favorite, just because I know a lot of people have been asking for a long time now to get a UCS design in Lego form for that particular vehicle. Next up, we have the Republic dropship. This is another rapid fire vehicle. So I think that this dropship is the one that usually would be like carrying other vehicles, like the AT-AP Walker, for example, or something like that, versus the gunship would carry actual troops. Cool design, though, nevertheless. Next up, we have a much smaller vehicle. This is the Republic Attack Shuttle. Which is right here. Especially with its wings folded up like that, it looks a lot smaller. Kind of always reminded me a little bit of Jetfire from the Transformers franchise. Then you have the Jedi Shuttle, which I guess is just more of a general shuttle for the Jedis, not specific to any Jedi like the Starfighters were. Then we have the Medical Frigate, which has the torpedoes ability. And this thing is pretty ginormous. I mean, look at this vehicle. That is a giant, giant vehicle. Just for scale, as we stand right next to it, you can tell that this is a pretty ginormous vehicle. It can barely fit in this hangar bay here. Definitely a cool design. Then we have the Republic Cruiser, which has both the missile and torpedoes ability. And this is a vehicle that actually is quite prominent in the campaign itself. You will see it appear in a couple of missions. So really, really cool design. This is probably my favorite spaceship design, just because I think it looks so different to anything else that I've ever seen in Star Wars. So I really, really like that particular design right there. And again, I'm probably biased because I just really like the color red. Then we have the Twilight ship. Which again is very unique because it has the one side of wings just on one end. So I'm not sure in terms of aerodynamics and all that, how all that works, but it's a cool looking ship. After that, we have the V-19 Starfighter. Looking pretty cool. Definitely pretty cool. Kind of somewhat reminiscent of that ARC 170 vehicle. Then we have the H-type Nubian yacht, which I guess is more of a luxurious vehicle, whereas all the other ones that we've seen are more like actual weapons or I guess army vehicles. This right here is just a yacht, so this is more of a luxury vehicle, and it definitely has that sort of vibe. It's almost like if Apple designed a vehicle in the Star Wars universe, you could kind of expect it to look like that. And then last but certainly not least, we have the stealth ship, which is actually the vehicle that you get rewarded with by collecting all 130 gold bricks within the game. It's a really unique looking vehicle. It has this kind of almost like bird's beak nose. It's really, really unique looking, and definitely is very cool to see as a reward. I always worry in games when the reward for collecting all the collectibles is kind of lame. This is not the case. It's definitely a unique looking vehicle, and again, I feel like it's probably a pretty important vehicle within the Clone Wars series, which unfortunately I am not caught up on, and I am only on season 1. But if you guys know the significance of this vehicle, let me know in the comments section below. Now, with that in mind, as we take this vehicle over to the other hangar bay, also gives us a nice view, side profile view of the ship, which looks cool. We now get a chance to take a look at all the ships over on the villain side, or over on the side of the Separatists. So we're gonna go on ahead and kick things off with the vulture droid, even though it would be fantastic if this fight just sort of well, that's just great. I think he will be defeated here, but here's the droid. And what I've always liked about this design is the fact that it looks like, and it actually does function in the game as something that you could use as a ground vehicle, but I have to showcase this here because I just love how it turns into more of almost like a TIE fighter when you take off. I just love the design there. I like the actual like engineering behind something that is both a ground vehicle as it lands. It's kind of almost like a tank unit, but then you can go on ahead and utilize it as just a classic looking TIE fighter. From there, we're going to jump over to another vehicle that looks very much like a TIE fighter. This is the Hyena Bomber vehicle. And again, it doesn't look like one when you're in grounded form, but once you lift off, it will indeed resemble a TIE fighter, just like the Vulture droid. Then we have the Geonosian Starfighter is next. Which looks cool. I like the shape of this vehicle. Again, I think it's really cool and unique looking. It kind of reminds me of the Pulse pistol from Halo. So I think that that's cool. And speaking of Halo, that's not the last time you're going to hear that, because there's an actual vehicle called the Halo, which I had no idea about, but was a very, very cool surprise. Next up, we have the Neimoidian, I think is how you pronounce that, shuttle, which looks very, very cool and very unique. So I do like this design. Again, I just love that so many of the ships are so different from one another and there's not a huge overlap. Now, this right here looks more like classic sci-fi, obviously, kind of like that UFO that we saw. This is the saucer-shaped spaceship. I think that this, to me, looks kind of lame just because it's so, like, cliche spaceship that it just looks very uninspired. So I'm not a huge fan of the pirate saucer there. Next up, we have the Magna Guard Starfighter. So this is the vehicle that I suppose all the Magna Guards would typically utilize, which is pretty baller. So, like, if you're a Magna Guard, I guess you get hooked up by the Separatists, because this is a pretty sweet looking vehicle for sure. From there, we jump to the Geonosian Solar Sailor. And one thing that I do appreciate about, like, this era of Star Wars for the Separatists is that the vehicles have a lot more, like, color and uniqueness to them, whereas I feel like a lot more of the, like, later vehicles for the bad guys, quote unquote, like, most of their spaceships are just like 50 Shades of Gray, no pun intended there. But it's really cool to see that there's more variety in color and, like, design here for this particular era. Next up, we have a rapid-fire vehicle called the Soulless One, which I'm trying to remember whose vehicle is this. Is this Asajj Ventress's spaceship? I think it might be. It's a sick-looking vehicle for sure. It has this very cool pirate sort of vibe. It looks super-duper sweet. Definitely, it might be the coolest-looking vehicle in the game. Now, from there, we have the Trident Assault Craft, which is a personal favorite of mine. I just really like the design and the wackiness of this one. It literally looks like an octopus if you turned it into a spaceship. So it's really, really cool in that sense. Even the little attention to detail with the yellow eyes on the sides. It's just so over the top. And it has really useful abilities because it has both the missile and torpedoes. So that's obviously quite nice too. Then we have the Zandau Blood Vehicle, which has a rapid fire. Looks cool. Kind of looks like a recolor of the vehicle that is used by the Magna Guards. So it's very similar in shape, but just a bit of a recolor. And then we have the previously mentioned Halo, which is right here. A very unique design. And again, I love that it has that green element to it. I have no idea if it's supposed to be somewhat of an homage to Halo, but I don't know why. I also feel like this vehicle could be like a garbage truck. Maybe it's just that particular shade of green makes me think of, you know, the classic sort of color that you see for garbage disposal trucks. But I just really do like that particular design because, again, it's so unique and different. And then, of course, we could not have a Star Wars game without one of the most iconic ships / vehicles in the entire Star Wars mythos, and that is Boba Fett's Slave One. So there you guys have it. That is a showcase of every single vehicle in the Star Wars 3 The Clone Wars video game. If you guys enjoyed the video, please don't forget to once again hit that thumbs up button, guys. Honestly, it really does help out a ton, and you guys are absolutely amazing for going on ahead and supporting the channel by just smashing that thumbs up button. I genuinely do appreciate you guys' efforts. And of course, let me know down in the comment section below, what is your favorite vehicle? Would it be one of the ground vehicles? Maybe it's one of the weaponized vehicles. Maybe it's one of the spaceships. Let me know down in the comment section below. That also does help out, by the way, with the algorithm. So if you can, take a quick moment and leave a comment letting me know what your favorite vehicle in this game is. Again, it could actually be different to your favorite vehicle in Star Wars. Maybe it's just that you really like the way that it looks in this particular game when it has been quote-unquote Lego-fied. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll hopefully catch you guys here next time. Peace out. See you laters, alligators. Bye-bye, everybody.